counting you down to the start of the 2024 season for the Aggies. You're locked on to the Zone's coverage of Mountain West Conference Media Day, live from Las Vegas on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Live here in Las Vegas, counting you down to the start of the college football season. As never a dull moment in Logan. Nate Dreiling, the interim head coach at Utah State, kind enough to join us. His first public comments since getting the gig with the Blake Anderson news that came out nearly a couple of weeks ago. But, Coach, you and I were just talking a little bit. I want to say congratulations, but I know this isn't the way you really want to become a head coach, but you're here and you have it. So what has these last 2 weeks been like for you?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me on. It's been a whirlwind, not just for me and my family, but obviously these players as well. Everyone was kind of blindsided by the news and taken back at first. But I think our staff has done a fabulous job of putting a game plan in place so these players can see kind of how we're going to do this thing moving forward and what is our vision. And at the end of the day, it's still the same goals. Like, we all came here to win a Mountain West championship, and that's what we're going to do and make sure we do it the right way.
How do you talk to these players and address them in such a way to let them know that, okay, you know what, the guy that you play, that you signed for isn't here, but we're still here to support you. We're still here to make you better. What are those conversations like? Yeah,
it was a rush of emotions, obviously, right? But the one question and the one big concern was, like, what is going to change? Everyone loved kind of the previous way that we had and how we were aligned. So getting them across, like, their day-to-day operations, not going to change. Offense and defensively, it's going to be the exact same stuff that we've been doing. But the only thing we'll tweak here and there is what they think can help get this place better and help us get to a Mountain West championship. Every answer, and I told them this, the decision I make is going to be on what's best by the players. They've been here a lot longer than I have, so I'm just going to give them the platform they need to be successful.
People need to realize that you just barely moved to Logan yourself. You were running that New Mexico State defense last year. You get hired by Blake. So your time in Logan has been very limited. What's that transition been like for you? Regardless of the coaching position, just moving a family to Logan and being a part of the Utah State family.
Yeah, we still got boxes to unpack. So my wife's like, are we unpacking them? What are we doing here? Yeah. So we're putting that on hold and just rolling our sleeves up and kind of getting work to the players. One thing I will say about the Logan community, we have a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and it's been nothing short of amazing of how beautiful a place that is to raise a family and just to be around with the community. So outside of football, it's been absolutely phenomenal. And then with the football piece and everything getting added to it, we obviously are excited about the opportunity we have at hand.
You're down a coach. Are you able to add another coach, and will you add a coach to your staff?
Yeah, Diana gave me some hiring powers that we're still working through. But we're not going to move very fast on that. I have a lot of trust in everyone in that building right now. So if we do bring someone in, he's going to have to fit a lot of things for us, but ultimately being trusted by both offense and defense and special team staff.
So on the offensive side, Kyle take over the offense. How does that work?
Yeah, I got the one thing that I think everyone knows about Utah State, the offense has been unbelievable. I think last year they were 19th in the country. So as my first priority as a head coach is to not mess that up, right? So I'm going to give them all the resources they need to be successful. But as far as looking any different, it'll be pretty similar to what you guys seen in the past.
Defensively, you're now down on the field. Were you planning on being in the booth before, or how and how does that change in terms of how you call? Will you call the defense, or how's that going to play out?
I will continue to call the defense. I have always called it from the field. I try to isolate myself. You'll see me about 30 yards away from everybody. I try to meet best of both worlds. I try to not get caught up in the emotions and still having a good eye on what is going on with the game. Obviously now being a little bit more involved with the offense, more so clock management than anything scheme-wise. So just being able to use my time wisely and making corrections on defensive end and being out there for the offense for whatever advice they need.
Schematically, what do you bring defensively? What does this defense look like?
So here's what we try to do. Football is simple. If you can eliminate big plays and keep the offense snapping the ball, eventually they're going to get tired of taking 5-yard chunks, right? And they're going to get overly aggressive. So what we try to do is that we try to wait for the offense to make a mistake and then capitalize on it. It's a very top-down approach. We'll give up a couple yards here and there, but ultimately, like, they're going to have to earn every single point as opposed to yards is what my belief has been.
New Mexico State is not an easy place to recruit to. It's not an easy place to have a lot of success, but you guys had it last year. What was it that allowed you guys to be so successful in a place that traditionally hasn't had a lot of success?
Coach Kill was unbelievable. He was our head football coach, and he's turned around every single program he's been at. So it was kind of the perfect timing for me to really sit and listen and learn from somebody who's done it at so many different stops. That's why I'm kind of excited to bring a little bit of my own style to this, and a large part of it is what Kill has been able to do in learning from one of the best that's ever done it. But ultimately, as you know, I didn't make any tackles last year. It's the players on the field, so that's our number one priority, no matter where you're at, and even more so right now with the Aggies.
You bring a couple guys with you from New Mexico State. Talk about them and what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, I think the final number is going to be right around 5 on the defensive side. So one thing I do bring is we're going to bring toughness. Like I will fall back on athleticism if he's overly tough. You can't win football games unless that's the standard. So we brought like Gabriel Iniquez, for instance. He's a defensive tackle for us, was an unbelievable player at New Mexico State, and he's the what you want. He's going to walk around, and you're going to be proud of him, whether he's on the field or whether he's off the field. Jordan Vincent is a safety, another guy that we had at New Mexico State that's been here since spring. And both those guys have finished very high in the captain's voting. They've only been here for 5 months, right? So it's not necessarily the players, exactly how talented they are on the field, but also what else can they bring? What do they bring to the locker room? What do they bring to the community? So those are the type of guys that we're going to continue to bring in.
I've heard the leadership with those two guys are through the roof.
They are phenomenal. They're awesome human beings, and man, I was just ecstatic when they said they wanted to come follow me, and I'll take them wherever I can.
What's your leadership style? As you as a leader, I know you're still, and I know you're going to get tired of hearing this today, but you're super young, relatively new in the business. But with that said, how have you devised your leadership style, and what encompasses you as a leader and the traits that you want to bring to the table?
I think maybe I'm a little bit different. I think control is for amateurs. I think if I have to tell my 3-year-old daughter, 25 times to throw the trash away, that's not getting anybody better. But if I can influence her to want to do that, right, then now we can move efficiently like we want. So it's the same way whether it's my kids or whether it's the players on the team. How can I influence these guys to not only do the right thing, but ultimately, when no one's looking, continue to want to be that person? So that's kind of the leadership approach I have. My dad was my high school football coach. He's still a head coach back in Kansas. So I've been around him and for a long time and kind of seeing he's do it as well as some other people. So little bits and pieces, but making sure I just influence and give them the platform they need.
Nate Dreiling, the new interim head coach at Utah State, joining us. Obviously, your dad's going to be number one on the list, but who are the other influences that you look at and you pull from in this first head coaching experience that you have?
I was we were at 5 different states in 4 years, so we've been bouncing all over the country at a very influential time in my life. So whether it's like a year and a half with Mario Cristobal at the University of Oregon, 2 years with Coach Kill, Coach Tim Beck, who I was with at Pittsburgh State, who's now at Vanderbilt. So a lot of pieces, whether it's stealing leadership ideas, right, team chemistry ideas, or ultimately just how to manage a staff of this magnitude, which is going to be the biggest change. I'm used to be in charge of 60 people. Now I'm in charge of 200, right? So understanding how they do that and make sure those guys have everything they need to be successful.
When you look at this landscape of college athletics, I believe on Tuesday, if things stay on schedule, that transfer portal will open up. What's your message to this team and trying to keep guys making sure that they stay in Logan?
Ultimately, they need to know this. They need to know that Logan is going to remain a place that they don't want to leave. You look at the transfer portal window last time when it opened in the spring, and very small amount of players left. Why? One, they love Logan, they love the community, but they love the environment that we have at Utah State. So like I said earlier, that's not going to change. We'll tweak whatever we can make better. But ultimately, I'm going to be here to serve the players first and foremost, and give them what they want and what they need to be successful. I feel like if we do that, now we have a chance to not only have players stay, but ultimately, even more important, have players who want to stay and want to keep diving in and leaning on each other. Because at the end of the day, it's just a guy sitting in a different chair, but we have the exact same goals of winning a Mountain West championship.
You got a couple studs on this team. Let's start with Ike. He's an emotional guy. He said some things yesterday about why he stayed at Utah State and Blake Anderson being a part of it. What are the conversations been like with him, and what does he bring to the table from a player standpoint and from a personality standpoint?
I think you hit it right on the head. That's why everyone loves Ike, because he is going to do everything he can, and he is going to wear it all on his sleeve. That's why he's one of the best players in the country and one of the favorite players in the community, obviously being from here. He provides so much, not just on the field, but even more off the field. A player of that magnitude and the voice he has, it's so fun to be around. His smile is contagious, and it's been wonderful. The talks have been great. Obviously, everyone's still going through roller coasters, right? And whether you're a 20-year-old kid or you're a 33-year-old head coach, like, this is a lot to take in. But ultimately, we just got to make sure that we're always there for each other, leaning in on each other, and at the end of the day, come out swinging and fighting for each other.
Tell me about your background as a player coming up in the sport. What was that like?
So, like I said, my father was my head coach. Grew up in western Kansas, played at a little Division II school called Pittsburgh State. Was fortunate to have some success there, winning a national title one of the years, and went on, had a couple camps in the NFL. Realized my first...
What position?
Played linebacker.
Okay.
Yeah. Realized my first kickoff drill with the Packers, and I'm sprinting down. I feel good, and I look left and right, and everyone's 15 yards ahead of me. I'm like, this is probably it. So just veer off and head to the bus. So that was short-lived. But
just go right off the field, right into
over there.
Greyhound
okay.
Station.
Thanks, Coach McCarthy. I appreciate it. But after that, picked up a whistle and was hired at.
Was that always the plan, though?
It was.
Yeah.
My dad is a very successful high school football coach, and I wanted to get away from his shadow and kind of try the college thing. So I always wanted to get in, and so I got started as a GA at the University of Kansas under David Beatty for 15 and 16. Before getting hired back at my alma mater, Pittsburgh State, was the defensive coordinator there for a couple of years. Then we start moving. Then we go to University of Oregon. We go to New Mexico State. Before that, we even get Southeast Missouri State thrown in before here in Logan. So my 4-year-old daughter's lived in 5 states. We've been all over the place, and we're hopefully ready to settle in and dig some roots and create not only stability in my family, but even more importantly, stability for the Logan community and Utah State football.
I talked to Diana Sabo the other night. She mentioned she had you pegged really quick for this interim job. What was that phone call like? Talk us through how you found out, what that process was like, and kind of the emotions that were going through your mind when you found out that you'd be running this team.
We were, so not a lot of people know this. My wife was diagnosed with cancer August 10th of last year. So while she was going through chemo, we had a plan that we were going to go to Europe for a trip to kind of get light at the end of the tunnel and during the tough times. And so we are sitting at a pub in Dublin, Ireland. It's 5 p.m. over there, getting ready to order some food, and I get a random phone call on my phone. So it was, to say I was shocked, obviously overwhelming at first, right? Just hearing the news and, 1, hoping everyone's okay, first off. But then 2, catching the next flight I can back home and getting to Logan. The hard part is, the players were all over the country because it was 4th of July break, so I didn't get to speak with them face-to-face until Monday morning, and then started our individual meetings. So just getting back and getting my feet on the ground, boots on the ground, and getting working and rolled up the sleeves. It's been good since we've been back, but it's been a shock for everybody, yes.
So you had that cross-Atlantic flight, and I got to imagine you got the pen and the paper, and you're going through schematically how you want to build this thing, correct?
My wife yelled at me like 30 times because I kept bumping her while I was writing stuff and crossing stuff out. So, no, it was not a lot of sleep. I've been surviving on coffee. Ultimately, I just want to make sure that I have all the answers for these players. They deserve the world. They are a resilient group, right? And they didn't ask for this either. So I need to make sure that I can do everything I can for them, to empower them, to give them the season that they want to have.
What is a Nate Dreiling player like? Like what? Every coach has a type. Who's your type? What are you looking for in recruiting? Who are you looking for, and what attributes are you seeking out in terms of your players?
On the field, the first thing we'll have is toughness. If they're not tough, they can't play for us. That's bottom line. I'm sure a lot of people do follow that same model, but it'll be here more than anywhere. If you can have tough players with high character and high IQ, you have a chance to be very successful. I think the direction I want to go with this place, growing up with my dad being a high school coach, that's going to be our pipeline. We are going to try to put a fence up around Utah, right, Cache Valley and Salt Lake area, and wherever we need to keep these players in state. Because you look at the talent level that is in this state is unbelievable, and the rest of the world's slowly starting to figure that out. That's why so many jets are flying in from all these big schools. So we are going to be a pipeline to every single high school coach, reaching out to them, making sure they know, right, they've been in this area a lot longer than I have, so this is more of their facility than mine. But bringing in high school kids, one, that are phenomenal people, right, that the advisors love, the lunch ladies love, everything along those lines, but then two, want to play for Utah State. I don't want the kid that's pissed off that he's not playing for University of Texas. I want the kid that grew up wanting to play for Utah State. Very similar to like the approach Bill Snyder took at Kansas State, and you can see what he did with that place for the greatest turnaround ever. So that's been my philosophy from the get-go, and that's what we're going to follow moving forward.
How hard is it to identify toughness when you're watching a kid on film or you're at a game, and more often than not he's the best player on the team?
Sure. So
it's pretty easy for him to look really good, but he doesn't face a lot of adversity because he's probably better than everybody else out there. Is it tough as an evaluator to identify that kid's tough?
I think you have to be careful when you explain toughness. Like, a lot of people assume toughness is being able to whoop the guy across from you. Like, that's the price of admission to get in the building, right? Every single one of our players has that. I'm talking about how they react to certain situations, whether it's on the football field or even more importantly in their life, right? So we will speak to absolutely everyone to know what this kid's been through, what kind of diversity he's been, how has he answered these questions. That's toughness. Like, physical traits, everyone has those if they're playing in our team, right? But having people that have proven track records of been through tough times and being able to come out on top, like, that's what we're looking for.
What's your message to the staff? We talk about talking to the players, but I'm sure you've got staff members who've got wives, they've got kids, and they're looking around like, oh my goodness, what's going on now? How are we going to deal with this? Our world's getting turned upside down. How do you stabilize? I mean, you talk about stabilize the locker room, but stabilize, those coaches as well.
I think the best part about it is, yes, it's been a whirlwind, right? But this coaching staff is phenomenal. It's a very young group. I was able to hire the entire defensive staff, so I've worked with all of them personally over the years. The offensive staff, I worked with Coach Bassett at Southeast Missouri State, and so I've been around these guys for a very long time. And ultimately, what I told them is, everything we're going to do is to make sure it's for the players, right? Whatever happens at the end of this thing has no relevance to us, as long as we can look back and say to ourselves, like, we did everything we could to empower our players to have success. I feel like if we do that, then no matter what, we'll be proud of the outcome and go from there. But we don't want to get caught in the big picture. We're just taking it day by day and always having the players first mentality.
I can't wait for the season to start so we can actually talk about actual football. And I know you're in that same mode as well. Like, let's get camp going. Let's actually just focus in on football. At the end of the day, this is a good team you have. Offensively, with Spencer appears to be ready to and locked and loaded. Defensively, with the additions that you guys have brought in with the new scheme, this could be a really, really good football team. And I think that's an important thing that may be getting lost in all of this, is that you guys have a chance to be pretty damn good this year.
I think you hit it on the head, and I think what the outside world is going to see is a team that is even more motivated and playing even closer together. A lot of people say, yes, when is adversity going to strike a football team? Well, it was July 3rd. So, man, we've been through a lot together. This is a very, very, very tight-knit group, which is even more important than talent. So I am excited to see the guys. When I spoke with them and having to listen to them, I'm meeting every single one of them individually, and they know, whatever happens, events they don't define you, right? But they reveal who you are. And I am so confident in the players and coaches we have in that room that the rest of the world's going to be shocked when everyone comes out swinging with a huge chip on their shoulder.
So, circling back on the offensive side, you're just like, hey, look, it's a great offense. I'm staying out of it. Let those guys do their thing.
The biggest thing I'm trying to do is make sure they have all the resources to be successful, right? Yeah. Obviously, you have one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country, but even more importantly, he is one of the toughest. Here is my philosophy on how you win football games. You have a great defense and a tough quarterback. I don't care what the offense is. If you have that combination, one, players are going to play extremely hard. Fans are always going to be excited about what's about to happen next, right? But the chance of winning and winning late is kind of how you win games in football, right? And with that combination, we feel like we have a chance to be successful. Speaking of the offense, they've carried this load for Utah State for a while. Defensively, we're going to try to catch up to that to make sure it's not a one-sided, every game's a shootout type mindset. We'll take any win we can, but we're going to make sure we play, football the way it's supposed to be and back and forth and helping each other out.
Coach, you're going to get sick of me throughout the season. Coaches shows, pre, half, and post, all that stuff. We're going to spend some quality time together, but can't wait to work with you.
Awesome, I appreciate it. And the rest of Aggie Nation, we're excited about it, and it's going to be a crazy ride. But I want everyone to show up and come to some practices and get around these players, so you guys know who you're going to be cheering for, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make everyone proud.
It's Nate Dreiling, interim head coach at Utah State, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. It's the 10th annual Top 60 and 60. Get your college football fix every day at 1:30 as the Zone counts you down to the start of the 2024 season by listing off the top 60 players in the state of Utah as voted on by the local media and you, the fans. You'll also hear from the coaches as they talk about the players that will impact their season the most. It's the Top 60 and 60, weekdays at 1:30, presented by 5 Star Painting on your home of the best college football coverage in Utah. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. It's time to get you caught up to date on everything you missed. 9 a.m. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley. Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown in Sandy. Salt Lake City Summer League is over. Off to Las Vegas they go for more Summer League basketball. Keontae George, 31 points in a 93-85 win.
It was a great Summer League, man.
You're a Big 12 media days. You can't be in two places at once.
I know, but I watched.
You watched the Monday game. Did you see last night's game, too? You were driving.
I got back and watched the last fourth quarter. So
okay.
Maybe less than that. I watched the first two.
He looks way better than he did a year ago. Well, he didn't play in game 2.
Well, that sucked. I turned it off at halftime.
Yeah, there's no point. That was
awful.
just a drubbing.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show how much better you can get with 1 year in the NBA.
I sent you the picture of my buddy at the sports book.
I did see that. Tim enjoyed that exchange, by the way. My new friend. Sun Devils stick together, forks up. God, hard times. He'd been there a while. Or he just wanted some AC. Maybe that was it. I don't know. How long did you talk to him?
I didn't say one word. I just thought, oh, this will get a laugh.
It did.
So.
It did.
So I did that. But yeah, George, he's a player.
And the guards, yeah, everybody's got to handle the ball a little bit. Everybody's got to shoot it, but his role here is to shoot it. Now, some guys have to have it in their hands to create their shot. That was a point Jonathan Tavernari made to us about Jimmer, and that NBA teams were going to give Jimmer the ball to create a shot. Some guys play better off the ball, and it seems like Keontae George, depending on who else is on the roster, can move back and forth between those spots. I know there's the whole urge. Is he a point guard? Is he not? I don't think it's that clearly defined, and I don't think that's that big a deal.
Well,
I mean, he's okay at passing it. He's not wildly creative. But
I think the interesting thing goes beyond him. So I've got two guys now that can do the same thing in George and Sexton. Mm-hmm. So can I make a move with either of those guys to make my team better someplace else?
I would think the answer is yes.
Right.
The question is, can it make the team better enough to satisfy Danny Ainge? Because Danny Ainge likes to win lopsided trades.
Everybody does.
Yeah. So I don't know if he'll get enough for what.
Well, it could be part of a deal, not exclusively.
Absolutely. Yeah. Could be yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be one player for one player. It could be part of a much bigger deal.
Right. So I think that's something you have to consider because there's teams out there that can use the skills that those two have.
Uh-huh. And if they're going to go big game hunting, you have to give something back.
And then you've got Collier here, who's a long way before we start making any evaluations. But what is he?
I think right now, maybe he'll learn to play off the ball, but right now he's just having the ball in his hands.
I know what he is now,
right?
But what is he?
Yeah, what will he be?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to know that for sure.
I mean, what can be?
Versus, no, I can't get the quote. Anyway.
What can be?
You know, that quote is going to be
what can be or what can't be.
Now I'm forgetting it. What Larry Johnson did that Karl Malone have not did?
Yeah.
It was Larry Johnson, right?
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get that quote.
What can be unburdened by what has been?
See?
And you got to have the what can be. The left hand's got to be pointing to the sky, and the right hand has to be down in the toilet.
Okay.
So, what do they have there? What can he be? What can he become? Speaking of Collier. You know, you can't just, oh my gosh, man, he just had a bad season, so he sucks. No. That's not fair to anybody, and it's not right. So you have to figure out what you have here. Can he be a one, and maybe more in the truer sense of a one in today's game? And can these other guys play off the ball and be successful? To me, George looks like he can play off the ball. I'm wondering how much Sexton. Is that the best utilization of Sexton to have him off the ball completely?
No.
Probably not.
No. It minimizes his speed.
Lightning quick.
Yep. Collier isn't lightning quick, but his change of direction is like guys can't get in front of him and stay in front of him. Now, it's Summer League. It's a low bar, so let's see what happens in the NBA. But he just routinely.
He reminds me of Andre Miller.
Yes.
Who isn't a blazing fast guy in his prime, but you put the ball in his hand.
And he'll get into the paint.
Yeah, he was able to use
and he's in his
strength.
40s now. He'll get into the paint.
Probably could.
May not be able to defend anybody, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to what level he reminds me of Andre remains to be seen because Andre was a pro for many, many years. But what I see is some characteristics there with Collier. And it's an intriguing thing that we will follow all winter and all next year. And, then somebody like him, I think you really have to he'll still be young. He'll be young for the next 5-6 years. But I think once you get into the third season, provided he's played, if he's G Leaguing it for most of the time, no. But if he's up, which I think he will be for a good and get some time on the court, then I'm looking, what do I got third year?
All of this screams, when do they move Jordan Clarkson?
I mean, he's not even on my mindset, actually.
I know, but he's on the roster, and he's going to play minutes, and those are minutes that could go to one of these other three guys.
He was on the roster today, but what about tomorrow? Here today, gone to Maui.
That'd be okay. I'm like a trip to Maui right about now.
I think things are happening in terms of discussion. And where do they go from that? What does Danny Ray say, okay, this is the best offer. I want more, but I realistically can't get more. Shoot for the moon now. You got weeks. And then figure something out. And they'll figure it out. But yeah, that's a situation that needs to be answered one way or the other.
Olympic team, Kawhi Leonard, the knee, not right, not going to play. So they turn to Derek White from the Boston Celtics. You still like Team USA's chances?
Not as much as I have in the past.
Really?
Yeah.
Worried about France? Here they come.
I don't think this team is invincible, but they're clearly the favorite, and I want them to win. I think it's fun to dominate these other countries, especially when these other countries have come along and gotten better. Not if you're dream team and just destroying everybody. That was a novelty, but the games weren't fun. I don't think we'll have that here. They'll have to play.
Not 30-point wins. It was 14 over Canada last night, pre-Olympic tune-up.
Yeah, and, they just barely got together. And what do you put into that?
Not a lot.
Right.
We've talked a lot of college football. Utah's got a home-and-home with UCLA. The Bruins also cut a deal with Cal. They're dropping series with Georgia and Auburn, minimizing the travel, getting rid of the big dog in the SEC in Georgia. The big dog nationally, the two-time defending champs.
Oh, I think that everybody in the now decomposed Pac-12 should do that. You should do that all sports.
Play as much as you can.
Yeah.
Stop flying all over the place.
Right.
What's the point of that?
And if I'm Utah, I'd take that in a heartbeat, get myself another game down there.
Still going to recruit California, keep a presence. And your fans like going there, so it's perfect.
Well, and I also think that you Texas kids, hey, you get a chance to play in the Rose Bowl. It's not the Rose Bowl, but it's the facility, so you get to see it. You can see what you've watched on television growing up as a youngster. So, yeah, to me, that's a total win-win. And you're probably getting a team that you ought to beat. You've been able to beat them a number of times. They got you a couple years back with their 6-year starter DTR, but other than that.
We talked a lot of college football. Scotty G came on. He says Tuesday's the day. The 14 days of appeal are up, and then we'll see some of the paperwork and the documentation of what went down and why are people getting fired.
Tuesday's the day, but mostly because it's the Kenny Chesney concert.
And then the transfer window opens when the coaching change is official, and we'll see if some of their star players take off.
Well, have you got money? Are you getting more money? Yeah, I would think that the locals would be interested in a couple of those guys. We know who they are, so it wouldn't be a huge move. But they may have to juggle something to create space. But it's a win virtually now, win at all costs.
Yep. And Ike Larson, one of the stars, safety. I'm turning down money to stay here, and this happens. That was after he said, I'm going to be honest and not going to sugarcoat anything.
Good for him.
Yep. Because he did turn down money, and this did happen.
If he did, he did. Yeah, if he says he did, I believe him. And he's irritated by it. Speak your mind.
So Tuesday, if everything goes down, then the transfer portal opens, and there's 30 days, and we'll see what happens to the Utah State football roster at that point.
Yeah, I'll be back Wednesday. I'm not going anywhere.
That a kid.
We got hockey club news.
Yak has breaking news. Yak, what do you have?
Okay, so Utah Hockey Club just announced it, but first-round pick Tija Ginla has signed his entry-level contract.
An entry-level contract. Yeah, I've got to get used to these terms.
Now, I had to look this up to understand what it is. It's essentially the equivalent of the NBA two-way contract where he can play both for the AHL club, in this case the Tucson Roadrunners this year, and also could play for the NHL club.
Doan did that last year.
Yeah, a lot of these younger first-round picks signed these.
Came up for the last 10 games or so?
I think it was 11. But
11, yeah.
Yeah. Right. And literally up. Because if you're down in Tucson, then you drive up.
Or fly.
Nah.
That's a long drive. You know this.
Tucson to Phoenix?
Yeah, 2 hours. By the time you...
Oh, and plus he's on the east side?
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about
hour
Utah,
50?
But
no.
Going to Phoenix.
No.
Phoenix
I'm talking about last year.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Phoenix, yes. That's no problem.
You're not going to drive that. That'd be unless you had a family or something, but this kid's like 14 years old.
17, but who's counting?
It is crazy to watch drafts and see all the baby faces walking up there, all these teenagers getting drafted.
Yeah. Oh, watching last night at the end, I thought Cody Williams, man, you look so young.
Yeah.
You look like such a baby.
BYU is laser focused. Much discuss about that. What does that mean?
Dubs. Lots of them.
They went 3-0 in non-conference last year. Can they do it again this year? Last year they won at Arkansas. Entertaining game. Had to rally twice. Now you got an SMU team coming off 11 wins.
SM freaking U.
Yeah.
The Methodists and the Mormons.
There it is.
Revisiting, what was the game, Jim McMahon? What year was that?
1980 Holiday Bowl.
80 Holiday Bowl? There you go. We'll go
Pony
back.
Express.
Yeah.
Roll the old film.
How many years is that?
44, I guess.
44 years. We'll be talking about that when we get there. Big game. Every game. Every game is important for the Cougars, as they are for everybody else.
Got to improve on 2-7 in conference.
You must. No, that won't have any effect, but you must improve on 2-7. Obviously. Everybody knows that.
Can you get to 4-5? I'm assuming they're going to go 2-1, and then the 6-6.
Minimally 2-1. You might go 3-3.
3-0, you mean?
Or 3-0, yeah. You're doing.
How do you get to 6?
You're just doing like a minimum,
right?
You're not assuming that they're going to lose.
Nope. I have no idea. Boy,
no idea.
SMU, you got me. I have no idea. How hard did SMU get hit in the transfer portal? How much internal improvement is there going to be in the SMU football program?
Well,
it ought to be a neutral field when they play the game, right? SMU doesn't pack the place, so BYU fans will show up. Be a ton of Cougars there.
I think there's going to be a lot more excitement with that ACC deal
I thought
now.
they sold out their allotment of season tickets.
They did.
Yeah.
With ACC excitement, I think there's going to be more.
It's the most excitement they've had probably since the death penalty.
Yes. I can totally buy that.
And so
they're into the ACC. They got to be pumped.
Oh, I don't know that it'd be, and I don't know how many Latter-day Saints live in that area that would be interested in going, and or how many folks from here would want to go. I mean, they'll have a representation. They do every game, every place, no matter where they play. I wouldn't think it would be a neutral field. I think it would be more for SMU in talking or looking earlier in the spring when it was still raining outside and all, and in the afternoons I was going through looking at all those teams. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I wrote down stuff, but I remember seeing that the interest in all that stuff and the season tickets. And yeah.
I remember talking about it, but I thought they cut off the season tickets at a low number. It surprised me. I remember talking about it.
I want to say 11,000.
Yeah, I thought 11 or 12, something like that.
But I mean, that's indicative of interest. And you got to leave some for the students and all. I mean, it's a smaller.
It is a smaller stadium.
Enrollment, so they don't have a ton of students. I have a friend whose son graduated from there and is now down in that area going to grad school. My friend's name is Wayne.
And he sent a kid to SMU.
Yeah. He lives in California, and then when they had the COVID World Series, he went to the games.
Oh, he went to Texas?
Yeah, because
they did the neutral site.
Well, his son was there.
Oh, the son went to the game.
Yeah.
Not Wayne.
No.
Okay.
No, his son went because he was there.
There, yeah. And he grew up
it was the Dodgers.
Grew up a Dodger fan.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to tell the people about today's show?
No, it's good to be back in the studio. I mean, when I'm here, I don't think there's anything that can compare.
Interim coach for Utah State was just on. If you missed that, Nate Dreiling, wherever you get your podcast, you can listen. He and Scotty G talked for about 20 minutes.
Is any related to Greg Dreiling? Wasn't there a basketball player named Greg Dreiling?
I think there was. I think if he was, he would have mentioned it. So I'm going to say no.
Oh, okay.
When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK is brought to you in part by Lumen Technologies. Your life moves fast. Quantum fiber internet is faster. Move up to tomorrow's speed today. Go to quantumfiber.com. That's quantumfiber.com.
Oh, yeah. My life holds A.
Your life is flying. Like you on I-15, headed back from Big 12 Media Days.
Seems like just yesterday I was talking football in Vegas.
Yeah, there you were.
Oh.
Breaking news. Are you ready?
Yeah.
2 Georgia players arrested on reckless driving charges.
Georgia. What are they, the new Miami? The new Florida?
Georgia's the new Florida. Florida's the new Miami. Miami's the new Oklahoma.
Oklahoma had some issues?
Back in the day, I think they had one player shoot another in the athletic dorm when Barry Switzer was in charge in the mid-'80s.
Was he asking for it, though?
I don't know.
I don't remember that.
U-State Iceman, everybody wishes they had Nate as a new head coach. PK likes it so much, he's going to start calling the show the Nate and PK Show. Go Aggies! I believe that we will win.
Okay.
Jack Dunbar, all about it.
Well, you're right. See if guys leave, what's available. It's late in the calendar to be leaving, but who knows?
The Cougars said during the Big 12 Media Day the team is laser focused. What does it mean for this season?
Means lights out.
You fan here saying it means the Cougars only lose by 3 touchdowns to Utah on November 9th.
3? He's given 21 points, given 20 points.
There it is. Brian at True Blue BYU 1984. It means 6+ wins. They're going to get bowl eligible. Winning season coming.
I hope they do. I like the dudes, the coaches. I want to see them stay.
And it's more interesting when the locals win.
There's no question about that. But I don't care as much about that anymore.
Yeah, but it's still more interesting to come in.
It is. I totally agree. But I still don't care as much about it.
We used to care because it drove the ratings.
Yeah.
And the ratings ensured that we'd get the next contract and all that. And, we're not exactly in our third year here anymore. So that part of it has changed. But it's more fun to come in here and talk about the Jazz going to the playoffs than
Obviously.
it is Danny Ray's got a plan for 2029.
Jeez.
Well.
Oh, man, that makes me nauseous.
Okay, but it's 5 years. They just drafted rookies. I don't expect these guys to be winning.
Still makes me nauseous. I want to see it before then. He'll be 70 years old at that point. Jeez, man, he's getting up there. But I don't think it'll be that long. But, yeah, there's no doubt it makes it more fun to win. But also, too, Kalani is universally beloved. I want to see the guy have success. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yep, I'm with you. No, I think most of the media is with you. He's won over the media. I want to have a relationship with the media like Lavelle had. I mean, he was saying that at the golf tournament deal they set up there.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like you said, you say it about the media, it's just true about people. So it could be true about accountants. If you're nice to them and pat them on their head, they will lick you.
Yeah.
If you're mean to them and they kick you and you kick them, they will bite you.
Yeah.
Yes, well, welcome to human nature.
I'm a media dog.
It is.
Yeah, I want to see these guys do well. There's no doubt about it.
Grumpy Wookie says, laser focus? It's just the same hyperbole everyone says at Media Day. No one goes into Media Day pessimistic about the season.
Yeah, but this year is different, man. I could tell. This isn't just hyperbole.
Hyperbole. Loogie's dad, at Loogie's dad, what does it mean? It means nothing. The presumption is that all teams are laser focused. To admit differently is to admit a failure in leadership. That would be awesome. I think Loogie's dad brings up a great point. That'd be awesome if a coach walked up there on that podium and they put him up on the scoreboard in the stadium and all that. He said, our focus is kind of scattered. Some of our guys know what's going on, but
who said it? Was it Shiloh said it about Colorado last year?
Yeah, now, but not last year.
Well, they didn't know it. They just barely got together last year.
Possibly they didn't know it. Yeah. Shiloh was talking about
the 23 buffs.
Poison. As a team, you got to be able to bond. You can't have no hate towards each other. You can't have poison. We got rid of a lot of poison last year, and this year we're in a better space. Clicking as a team, we expect to win. Now, what would have been awesome last year is they said, yeah, we're 3-0, but honestly, that was CSU, and it should have never been that close. We got a lot of poison on this team. I think bad things are about to happen.
Dion fosters an us against the world attitude.
Sure. He's not the first coach. He's not the last.
They beat TCU, and he's there to Ed Warner. You don't believe it. Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? No. I'm just here to ask a question.
No, I don't believe. You're going 4-8.
Believe in what? I don't believe in it. I'm just here to do a job.
I believe that you will win for. I believe that you will win for.
Ed was a respected reporter for 30
decades,
years, right?
I know.
And so you're immediately establishing an us versus them.
Yes.
And you're going after a dude who's probably pushing 60, if not older, and really doesn't give a crap who's winning the game.
How many games he wins.
Yeah, and is just answering questions. But Dion does that in a manner, and I think it's all strategic. I don't think he does anything just off the whim. There's no way. I think he's trying to make a point. And like yesterday, when he was up there talking, he started with loving the coaches.
He's been too good in front of microphones and cameras for too long to think that this is all just random.
Right.
You can't be that good for that long and be random. There's no way.
Yeah, and he just fosters attention follows him.
Yeah.
Tom Homo talked about it when he coached him, that everywhere they went, it was Dion.
Yeah.
When they were in San Francisco.
For 35 years.
Yeah.
That particular season he's talking about is 30 years ago. But he didn't become a big deal the day he was already a big deal when he got to the Niners. He's a big deal in Atlanta.
Yeah.
He'd already done the World Series NFL doubleheader. He was a big deal at Florida State.
Oh, he's an entertainer.
Yeah.
He's been an entertainer for probably when he was in high school.
All right, DJ and PK. We're all done. Jake and Ben are coming up next, right here on The Zone.